Good evening. My name is Tim Egan, and on behalf of the St. Francis House Board of Directors, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our first ever virtual All the Way Home Gala. I was moved by the video we just watched, as I am sure you are. No one should experience homelessness, and that is why we're here tonight. For more than 2 decades, it has been my privilege to serve on the Board of Directors, currently as its chair. My admiration for St. Francis House has only grown over the years, especially now as I have witnessed the staff's response in such a trying time during the global pandemic. I look forward to this event every year, to see friends, to witness the work of St. Francis House, and to be inspired. We hope that you've been moved by the opening video, and while this event will last under an hour tonight, I promise you that you will also be inspired by what you're going to witness. It is always one of the highlights of my involvement at St. Francis House to hear the successful stories of our guests. Tonight's event wouldn't be possible without our 2020 All the Way Home sponsors: Bank of America, Eileen and Jack Connors, the John and Mary Corcoran Family Foundation, Liberty Mutual Foundation, Melia Family Foundation, Natixis Global Asset Management, Rosalind and Richard Slifka, and Suffolk Construction Company. Their support, especially at a time like this, is extremely special and appreciated. This year, we have a goal to raise $700,000 to support the services of St. Francis House. In order to meet our goal, we need to raise $75,000 from all of you watching this evening. If by the end of tonight, we haven't inspired you to give, we have a donor who will challenge us to get to that $75,000 by promising to donate an additional $50,000 if we reach $75,000 tonight. So anytime you feel moved to support this event tonight, all you have to do is click on the donate button at the bottom of your screen. You can be assured you are supporting a worthy cause. St. Francis House is a place where no one is turned away, where our guests can access a hot shower, seasonally appropriate clothing, and a hot meal. But that's just the starting point. St. Francis House is so much more than a shelter. It creates opportunities for people to find housing, to get a job, to access supported services to move their lives forward. I want to say thank you to all of our St. Francis House staff for going above and beyond during this pandemic to make sure St. Francis House kept its doors open. And nothing has given our staff more hope than the support we have seen from the dedicated community that embraces St. Francis House during the times of uncertainty. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you Karen LaFrasia, the President and CEO of St. Francis House.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you everyone for joining us here tonight. After months of upheaval, it feels good to be doing some of the things we always do, like coming together for the annual All the Way Home event. While the format is different, the message is the same. Because of you, St. Francis House is a place of refuge and recovery. Because of you, St. Francis House continues to save and rebuild lives. For more than 35 years, St. Francis House has washed away the stigma and shame of homelessness and replaced it with respect and love. And for the past 7 months, we have continued to do that even while in the midst of a pandemic. If ever there was a time that our guests needed us, it has been these past 7 months. When all businesses were forced to close and people were staying safely at home, our doors remained open and continue to remain open to hundreds of men and women every day who don't have a home to go home to. Our guests who already have complex medical and underlying health conditions are particularly vulnerable to the coronavirus. And for those who struggle with the effects of trauma, mental health, substance use disorders, managing the stress and anxiety of the crisis has been devastating. Our guests are facing the same fear that has gripped the nation, but for our guests, it is even more acute. In the face of this pandemic, these most vulnerable men and women must live and survive on the streets or in overcrowded shelters. What we all now know is so important in preventing the spread of the disease: hand washing, proper sanitation, social distancing, are all incredibly difficult to do while homeless. The problem is further exacerbated by what we saw in the video. Far too often, people experiencing homelessness are told, "You don't belong down here." Well, not at St. Francis House. We never lose sight of the fact that each person who crosses our threshold is someone's daughter, mother, brother, sister. To our core, we believe that when we value the lives of others, we take our empathy and compassion and turn it into action. And it is with that spirit that on March 16th, we began the difficult task of transforming everything we do to respond to the crisis. Our lobby became a triage center, screening every guest for exposure and symptoms. To achieve social distancing, all available space has been opened up, and now we serve meals throughout the building, throughout the day. When we could no longer accept donations of clothing, we purchased what our guests needed and never stopped providing them these essentials. Without our dedicated volunteers, whom we miss so very much, our caseworkers were forced to split their time between helping in the kitchen and doing daily check-ins with both our homeless guests and those living in our next step in union housing. Our workforce development staff adapted to remotely support students in our Moving Ahead program, whose classes had been interrupted. And our new Recovery Support Center, a sober environment for homeless individuals working to stay sober, was deemed so essential, it was the only one in the state that was allowed to remain open. Throughout it all, never once did the staff complain. Courageously, they rose to the occasion as they always do, as they continue to do. Never have I been more proud or concerned as day after day they showed up, even in the early weeks when we had no masks, no PPE. Even the day the city asked us to staff a motel for homeless individuals who needed to be quarantined, the St. Francis House staff showed up. I got off a call at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and by 6 p.m. that night, our staff were there and we received our first guests. I'll tell you, what a range of emotions I have felt. Fear, anxiety, anger, frustration. However, throughout it all, more than anything, I have felt profound appreciation and deep gratitude. Not just for the staff of St. Francis House, who are, in a word, simply amazing. Well, I guess that's 2 words. But for our incredible partners, the City of Boston, our fellow homeless providers, and the corporate community. None of what we did could have been accomplished without their support and collaboration. Everyone came together to ensure that the most vulnerable amongst us were cared for and kept safe and healthy. So, that is why tonight we have chosen to present not 1, but 3 All the Way Home Awards. To Sheila Dillon from the City of Boston's Department of Neighborhood Development for moving mountains to support the depopulation of shelters and her tireless efforts to create more affordable housing. To Dr. Denise de la Nueces and Boston Healthcare for the Homeless for their extraordinary Herculean efforts to mobilize and create an entire medical and communication COVID response system, and educating and supporting our staff every step of the way. And to David Long and Liberty Mutual, who stepped up strong and early to ensure that St. Francis House and so many other providers had the financial resources necessary to do whatever it took to respond to the crisis. So, here to present our first award is Jay Hooley, retired chairman and CEO of State Street Corporation, recipient of the 2014 All the Way Home Award, and current board member of Liberty Mutual.
Thank you, Karen. It's great to be here with you. And I only wish that we were here in person so I could give you a big hug and say thank you for all you do through the St. Francis House for the homeless in our community. And David, we've been friends for a long time. It gives me enormous pleasure to stand here on behalf of the St. Francis House and make this award to you. Liberty Mutual has been a stalwart organization in this community for over 100 years. They truly do walk the talk when it comes to giving back to the community and supporting the places that they work and live. And early on, Liberty figured out that one of the important constituents in a community is the homeless population. And so for decades, they have supported the homeless through the city of Boston, primarily through St. Francis House. And it's not just David Long. It's David Long all the way through the organization, giving both philanthropically and also giving of their individual presence. So we are very, very fortunate to have a corporation like Liberty Mutual headquartered in the city of Boston. And we're enormously grateful that the leader, David Long, is as compassionate and thoughtful as he is. So on behalf of myself, the St. Francis House, and the broader community of Boston, I want to say congratulations and thank you, David Long and Liberty Mutual.
Thank you, Jay. Your presence and presentation of this award make this gala extra special for my colleagues and me. It's also meaningful to me personally to follow in your footsteps as a past recipient of the All the Way Home Award. Tonight, as I greet all of you virtually, I know I'm not alone when I say that I wish we could be together, in person, in real time, in support of this truly life-saving organization, St. Francis House. Tonight, in an ideal world, we would be together. In an ideal world, there would, of course, be no need for St. Francis House. Tonight, I'm expressing my gratitude on behalf of my 45,000 colleagues at Liberty Mutual, with whom I accept this award. I'd like to pause and thank my fellow award recipients, Dr. Nueces at Boston Healthcare for the Homeless, and Sheila Dillon from the City of Boston. I'm honored to share this night with them, as I know firsthand how deeply committed they and their institutions are to the guests St. Francis House welcomes every day. It really does take a village, corporate, nonprofit, and public, to lift up a person, a cause, a mission worth driving, and work worth empowering. It also takes great leadership, and in few places is leadership better exemplified than in Karen LaFracia. For Karen, her professional capabilities to lead St. Francis House with such vision, innovation, and creativity are exceeded only by her personal calling to serve for decades homeless men and women and people experiencing poverty, those whom she calls our dear neighbors. She does so with tireless energy and endless compassion that are her hallmarks. We're so fortunate to have her at the helm of this vital organization. At Liberty Mutual, we've stated that progress, individual and collective, happens when people feel secure. For 36 years, St. Francis House has been offering security to thousands of our neighbors when seasons of personal disruption and dislocation arrive. The story of St. Francis House is one of boundless hospitality helping those in times of great need write their own better story. St. Francis House is unique as the largest day shelter in the Commonwealth, where over 500 poor and homeless individuals enter the doors daily at early morning start when the nighttime shelters are closed and the daytime streets are insufficient in providing warmth, a healthy meal, a place to shower, a change of clothes, a medical checkup, substance abuse support and treatment, housing assistance, job counseling, and the healing comfort of compassionate friendship. All that can be found under one roof in Boston. What deep gratitude we owe St. Francis House, its board, its leadership, and its staff for helping our dear neighbors truly find their ways home. On behalf of all of my colleagues at Liberty Mutual, thank you for this distinct honor and the distinguished company we keep tonight.
Good evening. I'm Kate Walsh, President and CEO of Boston Medical Center. On behalf of BMC and St. Francis House, it's my honor to present the All the Way Home Award to Dr. Denise de las Nueces in Boston Healthcare for the Homeless program. As Medical Director at Boston Healthcare for the Homeless, Denise works tirelessly to ensure that our homeless population gets the care they need, and her already busy job was further challenged by the COVID pandemic. The COVID-19 response from Boston Healthcare for the Homeless was incredible, but not surprising, given their longstanding commitment to caring for our city's homeless population. In cooperation with the mayor and the governor, they quickly got a 500-bed shelter established and up and running to care for homeless patients experiencing COVID. They opened testing tents and quarantine tents and kept the spread of the virus from moving uncontrolled through the homeless and shelter population. Under Denise's leadership, the organization quickly assembled the necessary PPE and infection control practices to ensure safe interaction between staff and guests. It's also worth noting that Denise worked more than 24/7 during the crisis and was always a willing resource and support to her colleagues and community partners. I've had the great fortune to work in partnership with Healthcare for the Homeless for many years now. As we share many of the same patients, I know firsthand how complicated care for a homeless population can be, and the compassion and conviction of everyone at Boston Healthcare for the Homeless is inspiring. As a community, we are so fortunate to have them as a critical part of our social safety net. Together, Healthcare for the Homeless and St. Francis House are making a difference in the lives of homeless individuals in the city of Boston, and I am so thankful to have them as partners and advocates for those in need. Denise and Boston Healthcare for the Homeless, thank you for your tireless work during COVID and every day. Congratulations on receiving this award.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so very much, Kate, for your introduction. It is an honor and a privilege to be introduced tonight by an amazing leader who all of us here at BHCHP deeply admire. And Kate, thank you for your incredible leadership during the COVID surge. BMC was once again at the vanguard and nothing short of spectacular. On behalf of BHCHP, I'd like to extend my sincerest gratitude to St. Francis House for the honor of this award. We're deeply proud of the close partnership we have developed with SFH, an organization whose mission has aligned so closely with our own at BHCHP over the past 3+ decades. Our close collaboration has resulted in programming and services that have proven deeply impactful for individuals experiencing homelessness here in Boston. We hear from patients time and again how grateful they are to have an oasis at St. Francis House, a place where they can seek refuge from the streets, get a warm meal, clothing, find camaraderie, and obtain high-quality services from talented multilingual and multicultural staff. The Marie Archie Medical Center here at St. Francis House, operated by a talented team of BHCHP staff, providing medical, psychiatric, and addiction services to St. Francis House guests, is just one of many examples of how our two programs have collaborated to offer innovative services for individuals experiencing homelessness here in Boston. And who can forget the experience of working together this past spring during the height of the COVID surge here in Boston? Those were scary times. We were literally flying the plane as we were building it. And it was clear that we in St. Francis House leadership were in it together. What a solace it was to have a partner that remained gracious, collaborative, and mission-oriented even when the going got tough. This award means very much to us all at BHHP and to me personally. In a city and field where there are so many exceptional women and men working together toward advancing health outcomes for vulnerable populations, I'm humbled by this recognition tonight. As a daughter of immigrants and an advocate for health equity, I view this especially as an acknowledgement of St. Francis House's embrace of the value of different perspectives and its dedication to the reduction of health inequities here in Boston. I accept this award as well on behalf of the dedicated leaders at BHHP who have made our collaboration with St. Francis House what it is today, including Barry Bach, Jesse Gata, Barbara Giles, April Donahue, Cecilia Ibiabucci, Catherine Pierce, Melinda Thomas, and many others. On behalf of BHHP, sincere thanks for this immense honor.
Good evening, I'm Mayor Marty Walsh, and I'm thrilled to present the St. Francis House All the Way Home Civic Leader Award to my friend and dear colleague, Chief of Housing and Director of Neighborhood Development for the City of Boston, Sheila Dillon. For many years, Sheila has dedicated herself to making sure that everyone has a safe place to call home in the City of Boston. And ever since the COVID-19 pandemic began, her leadership has been more important than ever. As a member of my cabinet, she has championed the city's efforts to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 amongst people experiencing homelessness. Day in and day out, Sheila has worked tirelessly to ensure that there is a coordinated response across our healthcare and homeless providers to keep people safe. She spearheaded the effort to decentralize the number of people in shelters, and she helped to establish new sites where people could practice physical distancing and receive treatment and care. All the while, she aggressively pursued permanent housing options. Sheila knows better than anyone that creating more affordable and supportive housing is key to ending homelessness. She is responsible for execution of my administration's housing plan and our plan to end chronic homelessness. Sheila is savvy, smart, and tenacious when it comes to creating housing. She works with housing developers and homeless service providers to create permanent affordable housing with the supports that people need to live safe, healthy, and fulfilling lives. Her impact is clear in projects like the Union, which was developed by St. Francis House and the Planning Office for Urban Affairs, and at the planned development of 41 Green Street in the heart of downtown Boston. And as the threat of evictions loom for many residents, Sheila is reaching out to owners of affordable and market rate housing to sign my Housing Stability Pledge to keep people in their homes. To Sheila, this work is deeply personal. Making sure that everyone in our community is treated with dignity and has a safe place to call home is Sheila's calling. I've seen her commitment to this work firsthand. I've seen on Thanksgiving Day when she served meals at her beloved St. Cecilia's Church. I see it in her determination and the passion that she brings to her work here all year round. Sheila, I truly appreciate the work you do, and I'm proud to have you leading this work in the City of Boston. So it's my pleasure to present to you the St. Francis House All the Way Home Award. Congratulations, Sheila.
Thank you, Mayor Walsh, and a heartfelt thank you to the board and staff at St. Francis House. The work of ending homelessness requires many partners. So I want to take a minute and congratulate my fellow awardees, Dr. Denise de las Nueces and David Long. These two have made such a difference in so many lives. It's only fitting tonight that I recognize St. Francis's partnership with the City of Boston. Boston could not solve our homeless issues without you. Karen and her staff do it all. Not only do they provide residents with a hot meal and a safe place to rest during the day, they are also building supportive housing, providing job training, and offering high-quality recovery services. And most recently, they've stepped up during the pandemic to do whatever is necessary to keep Boston's homeless population safe. Thank you for this award, but more importantly, thank you for all that you do every day.
Thank you, David, Denise, and Sheila for being part of the St. Francis House family. And Jay, Kate, and Mayor Walsh for presenting this evening's awards. Now, we would like to show you a little bit more about what is special about St. Francis House, right here in the heart of the city.
Somewhere down the road, I got lost. There was something I was looking for to fill this empty hole inside. Looking, searching, trying to fill this empty void.
I was the stranger you couldn't look in the eye. But I'm just like you, and you're just like me, trying to find a place where we can just be free. In the heart of the city, there's a cure for your sorrow. Where there is life, there's always hope for tomorrow. Even on the streets of confusion, where there's love, there's a solution. And if you look, you'll see what's been missing. So don't give up on living, love. In the heart of the city, I found love. In the heart of the city, I found love. Yeah, I found love inside myself. I found love when I found you. I found love in the heart of the city. There's a cure for all your sorrow. Where there is life, there's always hope for tomorrow. Even on these streets of confusion, where there's love, there's a solution. And if you look, you see what's been missing. So don't give up on living. In the heart of the city, you know I found love.
In the heart of the city, that is where you will find us. Like the song says, where there is life, there is hope for tomorrow. Where there is love, there is a solution. Thank you for being part of the solution. And thank you for joining us here tonight. But before you leave, we all know the crisis isn't over yet, nor is your opportunity to make a donation. Remember, we need to raise $75,000 tonight to reach our goal of $700,000. All you need to do is click that little button below. No, not the one that says leave, the one that says donate. Okay, good. All right then. Well, thank you. Thank you everyone for your support and for joining us here tonight. Hopefully next year, we'll get together again in person. However, if you want to stick around for a chat with St. Francis House staff, just click on the Zoom link. Be well and stay safe.
Even on these streets of confusion,
Welcome, everyone, to the St. Francis House All the Way Home conversation with Karen. And thank you for joining us here at the Recovery Support Center at St. Francis House. We will start the live chat shortly. Microphones are muted tonight, but if you have questions to add or anything to say, we encourage you to type it in the chat as we will have staff members monitoring the chat. If we have time, we will grab a couple of questions at the end and answer them on air. If we do not get to your question tonight and you would like to have it answered, you can always send it in an email to info@stfrancishouse.org. We have also dropped that email address in the chat room for your convenience. And now, please welcome the president of St. Francis House, Karen LaFrasia, and Recovery Support Center staff, Efren Losada and Luz Reyes.
So listen, thank you all for joining us here tonight after the main event, I guess is what we're calling it, and we're so happy to have you joining us at the St. Francis House Recovery Support Center. We thought it would be nice to give you a little bit of insight into one of our newer programs, and it is new. It just celebrated its 1-year anniversary last week. So joining me tonight, I have Efren Lozada, who is our manager of our Recovery Support Center, and Luz Reyes, who's also one of our members, and I think, Luz, what's your title? Community Engagement? Outreach Coordinator. She is our Outreach Coordinator in the Recovery Support Center. So anyway, I think what we'd like to do is maybe just have a little conversation about the Recovery Support Center. But before I even do that, I have to tell you, I have seen that video, both of those videos, a couple of times now, but I don't think I can't watch it without being moved. What did you all think? What was your reaction? I know, Efren, you had a reaction to the videos.
I was explaining, I'm a little stuttered by the video. Being a person with lived experience, having a history of homelessness and, 10 years of recovery now under my belt, when I think about it, it's pretty much only been 10 years since I've actually lived on my own, which is great. But the video, the work that I do on a daily basis, it just feels natural to me.
Yeah.
But when I sit here and I saw that video, it's just like to see myself as a little kid, and then how could that kid have been homeless at one time? And then we go through the process of watching the video, and we get to where I'm there as the program manager and seeing what it says. But I think it's just seeing my name. It did something to me where it just woke up every single feeling that I had numb for the past year that we've been here.
I know you were a little emotional.
Yeah.
Sort of.
And I don't get that emotional. Yeah, I don't get that emotional.
But you said something, seeing your name, right? And I think one of the things that I think we all try to remember at St. Francis House is that everybody that comes here has a name. It's a unique person. Is someone that is not nameless and faceless. And I think one of the things that we try to do at St. Francis House is know everybody's name and welcome people and try to give folks that feeling of warmth and love and affection. And I don't know, Luz, do you have a sense that the guests who come to St. Francis House experience that welcomeness, or people that walk in the front door of the Recovery Support Center?
Oh, they do. They feel safe here. You know what I mean? Just like Efrain said, watching that the scenario that we just watched, it got me emotional because, I was that person, homeless myself.
Right.
And it's hard being homeless. But I'm so, so grateful that, I'm here today. Like from a year ago, today I'm an outreach coordinator. It's like something that I always wanted, like to help others, even though I always did. But this is something that I can move forward to do so.
I think it's interesting because I don't know if everybody even knows really what a recovery support center is. I think people have a good sense of what St. Francis House is and the services that we provide. But for years, we're a welcoming place. We're a place where everybody is welcome without conditions. And so one of the challenges for that, though, has been, as we've heard from people over the years, is that if you're somebody who's experiencing homelessness and you're also someone who's trying to work your recovery program. Those two things are really hard to do at the same time. So for so long, people have said, I want to come to St. Francis House, but I want to be in a place where I can be with other people in recovery, and hence came the Recovery Support Center. But Ephraim, you're managing this program, and that was the idea. But can you describe exactly what is a Recovery Support Center? How does it work? Who comes here?
So listening to the label, the acronyms, Recovery Support Center, pretty much it's kind of in there, in between. But in between those words, it's a place of safe haven. It's a place, if you know what the shelters are like, we have such great shelters here, but when a person who is struggling with trying to stay in recovery and is homeless at the same time, they have to leave that shelter. Usually like at 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, they're being woken up and it's time to go. The majority of people that are living in shelters don't have a place to go to during the course of the day. I mean, we're grateful for St. Francis House. They do everything that's a miracle. But then there's people that are actually homeless and trying to maintain their recovery, as you said. Yeah. It's also for people that are struggling with still using, not using, and it's because people, places, and things trigger them. Right. The center was developed for a place where people who are homeless, people who are or can be homeless, can become homeless, but are all trying to find a better way of living in recovery. They come here at 6:30 in the morning, we're open. We serve breakfast, just like St. Francis House does. We have groups in the morning to check in. They call it Roses and Thorns, which is really cool. And, so they check in just to see how they're feeling in that moment, how they did the night before. Then, we have other groups on the course of the day. In between that, there's music always playing. I believe in music. It's just a lifter. We have our game room. We have the art room, a library, what we call the Wusa room, which is the meditation room. They come here and, Luz had mentioned it, where it's just like 8 hours, they're safe, and we do this 7 days a week from 6:30 to 2:30 in the morning without fail.
And it's funny you say you do that 7:30 to 2:30 every day. Luz, what do people say when it gets to be 2:30? Because they have to close. Right?
They don't want to go. They take a long time leaving the door. Oh, hold up, I got to use the bathroom. You know what I mean? And they just, because once they leave out of here, few members don't have nowhere to go. They have to sleep in the streets, in the park. Especially today, it's raining out there. And there was few members today that they didn't have nowhere to go, and it breaks my heart. You know what I mean? So having a shelter, a daily shelter in the morning is, I know they can't wait till broad daylight so they could come here. You know what I mean? Because it's just like a family to them. With all the resources and the support that they get.
That's the other thing. It's about a family.
Family.
And I think that one of the most unique things about this Recovery Support Center is it's a membership, right? People become a member, and to be a member, you need to be everybody's in recovery. Is that unique? Is that special? How is that helpful? I mean, either one of you, why is that important?
It's special. It's just, you said it, it's unique and special. We have so many people in the community helping people that are struggling with substance use and recovery. But we share our hope and our experience. My staff is all in lived recovery. Being able to just, even in the hallway, have a conversation with someone about their struggle. They may have used last night, but these doors are open because we're a judgment-free zone. It's just a great experience. Do you want to share?
It is, because like I said, you know, they have this day center open and they don't have to use, it's a safe haven, they don't need to be out there in the cold and, trying to get that, next hit or alcohol, they want to be here where they can get showers, have resources that they need, help, housing here, because, as for me, as a member that I was, like we have said before, that I am grateful also, because I was a member, and once again, like I am honored that look where I am right now. You know what I mean? And it's hard work. It's hard work. It's doable. But one thing is, once you come through that door, it's love and respect, and it's family unity. You know what I mean? When you have a problem, they either go to Efrain, they go to the other workers, like today, earlier today. Luz, how come why weren't you here this morning? And, that felt good. Something that, 6 years ago I did not have, knowing that I am in recovery now, so.
Liz, I know you were also one of the founding members of this Recovery Support Center. I mean, I think that we pulled people together and asked advice of people with lived experience who had been homeless, who are in recovery, to help shape this. And can you or Efrain, talk a little bit about the we can describe what the space looks like, right? We're in it right now. There's a beautiful conference room. We have a dining room, the music room, the library. And those are all wonderful, but beyond the physical, right? Can you think about what does it feel like when you walk in open the doors to the Recovery Support Center?
I call it home.
It feels like home?
Home. For some people, it's home. Yeah. For some people, it's home. And when people don't want to listen to that, at least when they come here, we listen. We listen.
That's so important, right? I think it's wow. It's like when you're saying when other people don't listen to someone, you're listening.
They basically, it's when I walk in the morning, it's undescribable. It's just a feeling, and I think I explained it a bit earlier, where it's just like I need to be here, and it's a feeling of I come here and I feel the love. We have those moments when I watch that door and I see the first member walk in, and it's just like, good morning. It's safe, and it's a great place to be. The energy of love and support and freedom. Freedom to be you.
Wow. It's interesting because all of that was something that for many people, that was not there during COVID, right? I mean, I think that we're still in the midst of a pandemic. By no means is this over. But when we were surging, I know that one of the things that happened was, as folks businesses had to close down, centers closed down, health centers, lots of things closed. And I know that St. Francis House never closed, but beyond that, the Recovery Support Center never closed. And I was talking to somebody in this room the other day, and he was telling me how important it was for him to be able to still keep coming here because a lot of his other services were virtual, right? He was Zooming for stuff. What is, that's important, right? When you can't get anything, you can call up somebody or you can Zoom in for a meeting or a group, but what is it, we have in-person things happening here, right? And so what did it mean to people during COVID? Because now you're homeless, and now you're homeless with COVID. Were people scared? Are people scared?
We had a lot of angry people, confusion. There was just so many people feeling isolated even more. But when they came in here, it's just like we have people coming in here that just want to sit. Because even in this room right now, we had 3-4 people, and they're not bothering anybody. Nobody's bothering them. We had COVID support groups just to ask people how they're feeling about this. You know, and people were feeling lost. They were feeling lost. The typical question was, where do we go if it wasn't for this place?
Right, because there wasn't any
There
place
wasn't
open.
anything. None of the other recovery support centers were open. You know, this was a place where they could actually brush their teeth in the sink when everything else is closed, and you can come here and brush your teeth. So they had this place, and it was, once again, it was a safe haven for them.
During COVID, though, I think that, you know, there's the safe haven, there's the emotional, there's the love, there's the welcoming, and I think, honestly, I think if you don't have that, you can't almost do anything. But building on that foundation that we have here, were you able to ever see anybody, either pre-COVID or during COVID, you know, make any changes, positive changes in their lives? Did anything positive happen for any of our members? Yeah?
Yes.
Oh, do you know,
One
can you
of
think
them
of
was,
something?
one of them was Joe, one of the members. He was an angry person when he came here, and now he has a job. He has, buying a truck.
He's got a truck?
A
He's
purple-
buying a truck?
A purple truck.
A purple truck, okay, well, we'll look out for Joe and his purple truck.
He was here on the anniversary that we just celebrated for one
Uh-huh.
year, and he said if it wasn't for San Francis House, he would not know.
I actually think, I remember talking to him, he's
know
got a
what-
job too now, right?
Yes.
He's working?
He would
Working
not
at the
know where he
airport.
would have been if it wasn't for the center.
And those, and you know, you said, you asked if we saw changes.
Yeah.
We saw people that would come in and just sit in this room, not talk to anybody. Actually, now we have a membership committee, and they're part of that committee. And they sit out there and they say, can I play some music? I'm like, knock yourself out.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just great.
Well, and that's the other part I love about this, is it's not, can I, it's like, it's your center.
Take it.
You can do that.
Mhm.
Turn it on.
Knock yourself out is what I usually say.
Knock yourself out. What about for, if somebody, you know, we see a lot of people, right? At St. Francis House, there are about, you know, 500 people a day that walk through our front door. And people are in all kinds of places in their lives. And their journey for recovery, everybody's at a different spot. But if somebody's out there tonight and they're listening to this, or we show this, what would you say to somebody who hasn't visited the Recovery Support Center? What would you want them to know about the St. Francis House Recovery Support Center? What would you just say to somebody who's still struggling? All those men and women we saw on the street, those are all people that come to St. Francis House. Everybody that was sleeping out, they're people that are coming to us during the day. If you could reach them, what would you say?
What would I say?
What would you say to somebody about the center, about the possibility of recovery?
Just come along, you know. This is our St. Francis House, you know. They have a lot of resources, you know. They have, you know, case managers, you know, recovery center. They have the MAP program moving on forward. You know, it's a great place, and for me, you know, as like I said, once I was homeless, you know, and this is a place, you know, it's a good place, you know. People, when they're not out there eating, you know, they can come here for a warm meal, you know, stay warm into a certain, like I said, it's 8 hours.
Yeah.
You know, 8 hours stay here, and then, but my thing is, when they're out there, where are they gonna go? You know, so, you know, it would be nice, you know, it would really be nice if this would have been a night center for them not to go nowhere, you know, and they would be so happy. But, you know, unfortunately, that cannot happen.
We need a
you know.
24/7 St. Francis House of
24/7,
Recovery.
because a lot of people don't like moving out of here, they love it.
I think the only thing I can think of is, come see us, we love you. That's the first thing that comes to my head. So, come see us, we love you.
Come
Yeah.
see us.
We love you.
We love you.
Te quiero mucho, vamos, come in, you know.
There's always hope, right?
Always,
I
always.
think that's actually, it's interesting, because that was the last song that we saw, right? You know, there's hope for tomorrow. And I
Absolutely.
feel like that is 100% what I know you live and you breathe every single day into St. Francis House. And I think that that's exactly the spirit of St. Francis House. It is about love, it is about hope, it is about never giving up. And honestly, it's because of you folks that show up here every day. But thank you all for everybody who's joined us here today to hear a little bit more about the Recovery Support Center, because without you, there would be no hope, there would be no recovery. All of what we do is because of the support and the love that we're feeling. I can feel it through the camera that you guys are here. I know it's COVID, and you know, in normal circumstances, I would be telling you to come on down and visit us and take a tour. So, you know, this will pass. And when that does happen, I do invite each and every one of you to come visit us, come visit Ephraim and Luz and all of us here at St. Francis House. And until then, I just want to express my profound appreciation for everything that you do. And I guess I would be remiss if I also didn't say that in the chat room that there's an opportunity for you to continue to donate and to support our cause. And I'm also realizing we never did check with the chat room, did we? So if you did have a message that you wanted to send to folks at the Recovery Center, or if you have a question, we'll get back to you, I promise. But until then, thank you so much for all your support. And from all of us, have a good night. Have a good night. Take care.
Buenas noches.
Bye-bye.